Sens Hour, hosted by Shane and Derek, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Sens Hour podcast. It's Shane, and on today's episode, we won't have Derek due to some scheduling conflict, but we will be joined by the host of the Devil's State of Mind podcast, Neil Villapiano. Wow, every time I go to say it, I always butcher. I can say it no problem when I'm not on the air, but the minute I go live, I can never say it. But yeah, Double State of Mind podcast host. He's been part of the network for better part of 2020. So let's introduce our favorite person out of New Jersey. Here's Neil. Hey Neil, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing? First of all, you're not the first person in my life to not say my name correctly, and it is true. Everybody out there, he can say it no problem. Like when we're not like live, but the minute that it starts to go live, it just, for some reason, he forgets how to pronounce it. But
I literally practice all day to pronounce it correctly, and the minute I go live, it just butchers it.
Right. For everybody out there, it's pronounced Villapiano. So
yeah, see, it's just Villa Piano.
Villa,
for some,
Villa like the Roman villas, the small houses in Italy, and piano like the musical instrument. That's pretty much a simplified way to say it.
Yeah, and it's just like for some reason, the minute I go live, I can never say it.
No.
But if you're joining us on through Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast, obviously won't be able to see Neil's beautiful face and the jersey that he is wearing, but it looks like he's wearing the Adidas white, red, and green Jersey Devils.
Yep.
Jersey.
And the reason I'm getting the reverse one. Don't worry. Don't get worried.
Oh man, I want that Christmas one so bad.
Yeah, I think I was, because I was looking around to see like if they were pre-orders, and I think on Adidas they have it for like $180 if it's blank, which I was like, that seems about right. And then somebody was like, oh, but if you get a number on the back, it's $280. So I went to the New York Rangers website. They actually have like pre-sales. Pre-orders, it's like $280 to get like an authentic one with like either Zibanejad, Panarin, I think Lafreniere, and I'm like, well, first of all, it's James Dolan, and he probably just wants to take everybody's money away from him. Second of all, that doesn't surprise me. And I'm like, I want to get a Marty one, but now I'm scared because I'm worried about what it's going to be like looking on the Devils website when they announce theirs. I mean,
well, it's all standard. It shouldn't be like, I know for the Sens it's $250 or I think it's $250 for their, like, if you go straight to the Ottawa team shop, and if you're not buying off of the Ottawa team shop, you're kind of just wasting money in my opinion.
Yeah.
But if you go to like the Ottawa team shop and you look into the reverse retros, it's $250 for an Adidas Kachuk or Shabbat kind of pre-made, but it's $300 for a custom. And I think I know the reason why. It's because you're getting the full stitch. The extra $100, you're getting the full stitch. If you just waited and just got like a blank jersey and then went in and you're like, oh, I only want the heat press, you're probably only going to pay, like, for us, if we were to do that, we get to it for $250 kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's kind of where it's a little confusing for people.
Right. I think it would be smarter for people to buy a blank one, for $180, whatever they're going to sell it for, and then down the road. Like with the Devils, we have our own shop in the stadium, and you could actually go into it and get it stitched there. I think you'd probably end up saving a lot of money if you just, got a blank like the one I have on, and then just getting it stitched, afterwards. That might actually be the smarter way to do it.
Yeah. See, if they announce Hischier as captain, you bet your ass I'm getting a Nico Hischier Christmas Day with the C. I do not care.
Yeah, a lot. I've had a lot of Devils fans tell me that they're doing that, and I say, I think we need to realize that we're still not even guaranteed that we're going to have a captain this year. I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Nico will eventually become the captain of this team. I think it's a matter of when do they feel is the right time, and I think with the fact that you have veterans like Travis Zajac, who is, on his last year of his contract, and there's a good chance that this could be his very last season in the NHL, depending on, how he does and what the team sees moving forward. It may not be until 2021-22. It may be that when they decide to make Nico the captain at that point.
100%. I mean, Ottawa's in the same boat. Like, if I'm getting a Brady Tkachuk jersey, realistically, I could just get a Brady Tkachuk without any letters and then just get the C added later anyways. But I think that might be my go-to is get like a Nico Hischier jersey. And honestly, if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to go through Customized Sports.
Is that a Canadian thing?
They ship to the States.
Okay.
If you go if you're on eBay, I think they're $50 American.
Yeah,
depending on,
because we talk about it on the group chat that we're on with the Hockey Pod Network guys, and we're always talking about like where can we get like really good deals on jerseys. So we're constantly figuring that out.
Yeah, so we have Ben H Sports, fantastic guy. I've gotten a couple of jerseys from him already. That's probably where I'm going to get my next couple of jerseys from. But Customized Sports, they just do the jersey kits. We have a contest going on. We are sponsored by them.
There you go.
They're honestly great. Like I have most of my jerseys recently. Like the 2 jerseys behind me are CFL kits from them.
That's impressive.
So I'm probably just going to get them from them and then buy a blank for probably like $180 from Ben H Sports, and then sew them on and slap them on myself.
Now, I think next question that obviously I got to ask you is, what is the first jersey you want to get your kid? What would be like the first one you would try to get?
Oh, she's getting a Sens one.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Is it going to be a blank one? Is it going to be
most likely.
Okay. I got you.
Might get that reverse retro Calgary one for it.
There you go.
Gotta get Blasty.
Right.
But no, honestly though, it's fantastic that I love these reverse retros. I know you put out something.
I put out a tier list.
Yeah, I have not done it yet. I've been meaning to. Do you have to upload the pictures already, or are they already uploaded?
No. Actually, if you go to I think if you just type in on Google like NHL reverse jersey tier list, I think it takes you right to a website where they have it already down there, and all you have to do is just click and drag to wherever you want to put them, and then you just create the tier that way. I actually got that from Tom Franklin from the Blues Notes podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. He sent me the link and he showed me it. So if you want me to just send you the link, or if you want to look it up, either way is fine.
Yeah, because I've been meaning to, and it's just it's also a lot of time.
And here's the thing. For me, there's a lot of them that I like that I know already a lot of other people that I've spoken to don't like for whatever reason.
Really?
Yeah. This week, actually, or I guess on Monday the 30th, one of the segments on the Devil's State of Mind podcast episode is me talking about the Devils jersey and, how my thoughts on it. And the only thing that I guess there were 2 things that I said that I really, really that I guess I would have changed, but they're not like massive changes because pretty much it's tremendous, is that I feel that the logo needs to be elevated a little bit because it looks like there's a little bit too much space at the top right by where the logo is. So it should be more like this, like the way that I'm wearing the alternate jersey that we already have. And then the other thing that I was interested in seeing what it would look like is instead of the lettering and numbering white and then with a trim of red, reverse it the other way. Make it red with a white trim and see what that looks like. That would have been something I would have liked to have seen and see what happens with it. But other than that, I thought that they did a good job. I did rank the Ottawa Senators one on my A list. I put them at the top because I really did think that they hit a home run with this. Because, obviously they're going back to the black and white. So the logical thing to do is to just reverse the jersey you already got and make it red. And I think that it came out as well as you could have imagined it came out. And have they revealed what the lettering is going to look like and the numbering on those?
Yeah, it's basically what they have for the other jerseys. Just
so is it going to be black numbers and is that
white, a black number with white outline?
Okay, so that's what I thought. That's what I thought. The one that surprised me the most that a lot of people seem to not like is I think it was the Dallas Stars one. Me personally, I thought it was pretty good. I don't really see why people don't like it. I think it looks pretty clean. To be that's just speaking me. That was kind of a surprise. There's some other ones. I love the Bruins one. I love that they brought that back. That whole look. I think that's something that Bruins fans desperately wanted back. The Canucks one, kind of like it's growing on me a little bit. I didn't like it at first, but it's growing on me.
Yes, yeah, I understand why Dallas, because apparently there's like talk of it being an all white look. So I'm gonna pull up your picture.
Yeah,
Um,
there you go.
so
There you go.
you do it? I don't know.
Yeah,
So you
I
have
see it. I see it.
yeah. So I honestly I'm kind of surprised you have Toronto up there. I feel
I
like
think
Toronto would.
Toronto was good. Because here's the thing for me. The only thing that I guess I wouldn't like is the white strip down the arms. That was about the only thing I didn't like. What I really loved the most about it, and what really got me to say like that's at the top of my list, is the Canadian leaf in the front. I love the way that they made that look.
See, for me personally, I can't. I have Toronto at the bottom, um, and the Winnipeg one at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't give. I mean, I like the Winnipeg one. I mean, this is my personal opinion on these. So I mean, it
Well,
just
yeah, that's fair. I just like I honestly though, I agree with your bottom outside of the Wild Wing. I would have moved it up to B.
well, I heard. I think you said on our group chat that you said that they missed an opportunity with something with the Wild jersey.
For the Wild jersey, yeah, 100%. They should have made it the stylized M.
Oh,
But for
that's
the
a good
like
point. Yeah.
the Anaheim one, I would have moved up to B.
Ooh.
I would have moved down the Rangers because it looks like a practice jersey. I don't like Andy,
Yeah.
one of the hosts of the Broadway Boys,
Yeah.
mentioned like he doesn't like the solid navy, and I
Nope.
got to agree with him on that. I don't particularly like it. I'm not a huge fan of San Jose's. But I was never a fan of that style of San Jose jersey.
Right.
But I love Washington. I love the Screaming Eagle, so I'm happy that's back.
Yeah. I mean, that's I think that's one, especially if you talk to guys like Hockey Troll, that they really honestly wanted that back. They wanted to bring that back in some capacity, and you know, it's going to be really interesting to see Henrik Lundqvist wear that if he ever has to wear that in one of the games that he plays.
Oh, he
Um,
most likely will.
I mean, I saw him in practice stuff with the Capitals, and just in general, it just looks really weird, seeing him in a uniform other than the Rangers. But yeah, going back to this Capitals one, it's a really good one. I do agree with Tom because I know Tom hates. Well, hate might be a strong word. He really doesn't like the Blues jersey. I can see why. I think there's a little bit too much red in this. I feel like it kind of distracts you away from everything else.
But to
Um,
be fair, like it kind of embodies what the reverse retro jersey looks like.
well, yeah, and I think that we have to also remember this, and I mentioned this on my podcast episode that every team puts a specific amount of money into these jerseys. It is not, they have to make the choice as to how much money they want to invest in these. So depending on the amount of money that Adidas gets from a certain team, that's about as hard as they're going to go. So if I'll give you an example. Devils fans want a black alternate jersey, and I said it before. It's going to come at some point, probably within the next 2 or 3 years. We're going to get one.
I hope not. I really hope not.
And I'm skeptical about it because Adidas sometimes kind of screws it up with like black alternate jerseys, especially in football. I've seen a bunch of those. But if the Devils don't put a lot of money into it, it's not going to come out like everybody hopes. If the Devils put a huge amount of money into it, then most likely Adidas is going to go the extra mile to make sure that it looks, really good. It all just depends on what these teams make. So sometimes it depends on what the team put in there.
100%. But I think, to be fair though, for St. Louis, if you look at the original jersey comparatively to the reverse retro, it embodies exactly what a reverse retro is supposed to look like. I think they actually followed it better than a lot of other teams. Like, for example, Edmonton, who kind of just reversed their colored jersey from that year. Like, they already had a white jersey. All they did was revert. Like, the white jersey and the blue jersey during that era were different.
Yeah.
So all they did was flip it between the two.
Yeah.
And like, if you really look at the Blues alternate from like this is the
Yeah.
one they flipped.
Right.
They actually flipped it. Like they just straight
They
out
did.
just flipped the
Yeah.
Blues, and I give them credit for that because they really embodied that reverse retro look.
Yeah.
They didn't add random colors to it,
Mhm.
you know. And I think that's my issue with Winnipeg is like, where are you getting this gray from?
That was kind of an interesting thing because I think that I kind of expected them to kind of go a little bit more towards what the old
I was
90s
expecting red.
right, exactly. And I think that that was kind of a surprise when it came out. But to be honest with you, I like it a lot, and that's just me. Especially when then Winnipeg put out pictures. I don't know. I think it was Blake Wheeler that might have been showcasing them in a photo shoot, and I mean it looked really good to me. So that was me. But obviously the two that really stand out the most, and I think stand out the most in everybody's mind, is the fact that Colorado went with the Quebec Nordiques, and the Hurricanes went with the Hartford Whalers look, which the Hartford Whalers look might be one of the top 3 best that Adidas made, because this was almost exactly what people were asking for.
See, I'm a little disappointed with the Nordiques jersey. I think there should have been a little bit more blue.
There should be light blue in this.
Like there should have been a little bit more blue.
Yeah.
I understand like it is a reverse jersey, right? And like their
Yeah.
standard jerseys were blue, and so I get the concept, but I wish there was a little bit more blue in the jersey. But overall, I think they hit it out of the park.
I think personally they should have done something different with the reverse retro for Colorado, and they should have just said, okay, we're going to make a completely, Nordique based jersey as just another alternate down the road.
See, I would have loved them. Like it's kind of hard though, because realistically, if you look at the Colorado colors,
Yeah.
I don't see like a baby blue, like their shade of blue working as a primary color.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's not one of those. It looks too light.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would have loved them to do a burgundy Nordiques jersey, and then the bottom being with the baby blue.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. One that really like struck me was I kind of wondered with the Coyotes, did they just talk to the Phoenix Suns and be like, "Yo, can we just borrow some of your colors and just put it on a jersey?" And I'm sure because
like they did have purple when they first came in, right?
I thought it was. Did they have purple? I don't even.
Yeah,
know.
like I'm pretty sure the version they had a little bit of purple. Personally, I love it. I love the steampunk coyote logo. I think it's amazing.
I'm not disrespecting it because it's on my B. It's on the B portion of my tier list. But again, it was just like I was laughing about it with one of my friends because we were like, I feel like they asked the Phoenix Suns if we could just borrow their purple and just see if it worked. Like, it's like throw it out there. I mean, it's still very good, and I love the bottom. I love the bottom of it. It looks really good. I'm really disappointed with the Sharks one. I really thought that they would. The gray just doesn't. No.
I thought they were going to do a gray. Like I figured, but I was hoping it would be like their OG, like first year jerseys.
Yeah.
Like a gray and teal. I was not expecting. I've always hated that jersey design. Like the way the arms are and whatnot. I've always hated it, so I'm very disappointed in that.
It's to me, it's too cartoony-ish, to be honest with you.
Personally, there's 2 teams I think that hit it out of the park with their jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Columbus, going back to like that old school logo.
Yep.
And and Montreal.
You can. It's fine.
I just blanked on the team for a second. Tampa. I love the fact that they went back to the old school logo, so I'm going to give them mad props on that.
That's a great logo.
But personally, I think Montreal and Columbus both hit it out of the park.
Okay.
I think the blue that they used for Montreal is fantastic. I've always wanted to see what a really like blue jersey would look like for Montreal, and I think they did it really well. Yep. And then Columbus, though, I think I've always loved that Columbus logo, so I'm happy it's back.
Yep.
For me, though, Buffalo and LA.
Yeah, and I have, as you can see, I have them on my top because I think that when you look at the fact that Sabres fans loved that logo back in the day with the 2 swords, they absolutely loved it, and also the fact that the Sabres already announced, look, they're bringing back the royal blue and yellow, the uniforms that everybody associates with Buffalo. You
The
know,
early Dominic Hasek era, not the
exactly.
cup run era.
Yeah, and even when they made when they made that cup run in the late '60s or in the '70s against the Flyers, they wore those uniforms. That's really what they were hoping for, and I think Adidas did a tremendous job with that. The Kings one, that is so clean. I mean,
Oh
it
man,
like
Marcel Dion
I
colorway with a
I hate
Gretzky
the
logo.
Kings. I hate the Kings so much, but like that's one of those where it's like,
Joe, Byfield in that, like you realize
ooh,
how nasty a 55 Byfield will look in that jersey or an
yeah,
Eichel 9.
you can.
Like,
Right.
I don't mind Boston's, really. I really don't. But, I think they missed the mark. I like the yellow they used.
Yeah.
Nashville's was horrible.
Nashville
Uh,
is at the bottom of my list, as you can see, because I feel like, I mean, to be honest with you, because I know you play NHL, I know you play Chell. It feels like a jersey that you could make on NHL 21.
oh, easily.
I mean, this is like if you go to create a team or whatever, you could make that identical thing, and not even
I hate the Islanders.
the
Like, okay,
Islanders. Okay, the Islanders.
that's not true. I like the Islanders because I love the Islanders colors. Like I think the blue,
Ugh,
orange, and white look
ugh,
really, really good.
they missed an
They missed the
opportunity.
mark on the fisherman.
No, see, that's what I'm saying. They shouldn't even kept the colors. They should have just brought back the fisherman jersey in general. And I know a lot of Islanders fans don't like them only because it reminds them of that period when they were really, really bad, when they had like Mike Milbury as their head coach, and what was it, Shapiro? What the hell was his name? The guy, they did an ESPN 30 for 30 on the dude.
Uh,
Do you know what I'm talking? You know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah,
Like,
I know who you're talking about. I
yeah,
just can't remember his name.
what is his name? Anyway, it brings back that thing. But like, I even talk to Islander fans that are like, they really didn't try. And I'm like,
Here's the
"Yeah,
thing.
they didn't try." Like,
I just, every team brought back an old logo. To be fair,
except
like
I mean, teams like the
and
Devils, we've had the same logo all the time.
yeah, but like realistically, Dallas brought back the old logo. Arizona, Florida, Anaheim, for fuck's sakes, brought back Wild Wing. So you have the Wild who stuck with their new
Panthers
logo.
brought back theirs.
Yeah, like you have the Wild who stuck with their, even San Jose brought their old logo.
Yeah, the Flyers kept the Flyers one is solid. I guess.
But like Flyers logos hasn't really changed much.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you
Red
look
Wings
at one
one,
of the teams who could change their logo,
you know what's funny about the Red Wings one? I have a jersey in my closet over here that actually the Red Wings wore in the Centennial Classic against Toronto, and I'm like, they literally just took the same jersey and just said, "Yep, this is our reverse retro." Because I'm like, look, the logo obviously is going to stay the same because it's always been the same, but I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like there's too much white in this jersey.
100%. I think Nashville missed the mark. They should have done a navy with that, like they're the same time period. They had that the Sabres logo, the Predators logo.
Yep.
Which I think they had that on their original yellow jersey.
Yep.
So like you could have done that in blue, which would have been mint.
I think that would have been a lot better. Yeah, no doubt.
You would have had, like, Minnesota could have brought back their stylized them. I think it would have been a lot better than what they have on the Subway jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair to call it the Subway jersey right now.
Good point. Yep.
Vancouver, I mean, they went with the gradient look, so you don't really change much about that, which is fair. Like but to be like, everyone else brought back a logo.
Yeah,
that realistically.
You don't count Vegas because Vegas didn't. I mean, this is basically their alternate logo that we're looking at.
Yeah, it's just a style of jersey.
Yeah, it's what we see on their shoulders. So, and Vegas is one. I don't know about you, Shane, but to me, I just feel like there's just too much red in this. I
don't understand where the red's coming from.
And you know what? They brought the gold jersey that
they should have just made the gold jersey the reverse retro.
Yeah, they should have just been like, yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I just feel like when I see these on the ice, I feel like they're gonna look better, than what we're seeing right now. But some of these I feel like are just not going to get any better, even if they're playing on the ice.
I think Dallas. The reason why everyone's pissed about Dallas is that there's talks of them being an all-white uniform, like white pants, white helmet, white gloves, white socks. Like it's going to be an all white uniform, kind of like how Detroit had in that outdoor game against Toronto.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I think that's what people are pissed about.
Yeah. I mean, look, first of all, you look at a team like Vegas, they basically do all white. I mean, that's what they do. And that was kind of the first time I saw a team actually use all white, as their regular uniform. So, I mean, there is a possibility to do it. I just think the only criticism I would make of that jersey is that I think they should have incorporated a little bit more black into it. I don't know if you remember, but like go back to like 1999, 2000 when they were going to the Cup final. They had some black in there as long as they're, forest green and white, I believe. I think they did have some black, or they did have a black uniform, I think, in the mid 90s when they came from Minnesota to Dallas.
Yeah.
I think they should have incorporated that. But again, like I mentioned before, it also depends on how much money did these teams invest into making these jerseys. We don't really know. And every team is probably different.
I think the teams that really knocked it out of the park, Ottawa, New Jersey, Detroit, Vegas, or not Vegas, LA, those teams, the ones that are I think if you look at across the board who had the best ones, those are the teams that I expect to have these as like maybe a full-time alternate. The ones that were probably looking at this as like a 1 year, one and done kind of thing, they're like, we don't really care. So we're not going to invest so much time into it.
Yeah, and I think you look at a team like the Kings, they'll definitely keep these long term.
100%. They'd be stupid not
to. Montreal, the only reason why I could go either way is because Montreal is a very, historical franchise, and they may be like, we don't want to, we want to kind of keep it the way that we've always kept it. But, we'll see. Ottawa, because obviously they brought in new jerseys with, obviously, and then they have this. They're going to, and look, they're trying to market themselves, young team with like, a new era. This is what they're going to do. And so this is going to sell. I mean, this is going to sell. You get a team like the Devils, look, we like bringing back our heritage. There's a lot of young Devils fans that want a black jersey, and I keep warning them that it may not come out the way that they want it to come out. If you look at the heritage uniforms that we have, like the one that I'm wearing at the moment, and the reverse retro, and even the Stadium Series one that we wore, which was basically the uniform we wear on St. Patrick's Day every year, if we're playing at home, that's the, thing. And again, people, it's not we call it the Christmas uniform because let's face it, it's red, white, and green, and that's what Christmas is. But it really isn't. The fun thing about this, reverse retro for the Devils is that the green actually represents the Pine Barrens, which is located in the south part of Jersey. So, and that's the thing, because again, the perception is that, even though the Devils say that they're Jersey's team, if you go to South Jersey, an hour away from where I'm from, it's usually a lot of Flyers fans because they're closer to Philadelphia than they are to Newark, which is where the Devils play. But the Devils really want to get as many people in this state involved because it's the only professional sports team with the New Jersey name in it. We have a soccer team, the New York Red Bulls, but they're called the New York Red Bulls, even though they play across the river, across a little stream from Newark, and they play New Jersey. So, and we have the Giants and the Jets, but they're called the New York Giants and the New York Jets. They're not called the Jersey everything. So we had the Nets, but they moved from Jersey. Now they play in Brooklyn. So the fact that the Devils have continued to keep this, name and represent Jersey and say it's Jersey's team and do things like incorporating, the Pine Barrens, which is gorgeous, by the way. I would recommend it if anybody gets the chance to go on a hiking trip or something there. It's absolutely gorgeous, especially if you take one of the heritage railways that we have in South Jersey, going through the forest on one of those railways on a beautiful day like we had today. It's truly a sight to behold. But it's a great job. But yeah, some of these teams are going to keep them, and some of them are probably not. I don't see the Red Wings keeping theirs.
God, no. I think they'll wear them like 4 times.
Nashville is going to wear this 4 times and be done with it. The Islanders are definitely not keeping theirs long term. I don't think so. Could be wrong.
I think New Jersey should look at this as an opportunity to reintroduce like full time the green, red, and white. You have the away jersey already.
Right. Yep.
You have the alternate already. And here's the thing. I was expecting, so when Calgary announced that they were going back to that like 80s style because they had the home and the away, I was expecting Winnipeg to do the same thing because they have they're in the
Right.
exact same situation.
Yeah.
So I was expecting them to come out with a red jersey to complement those two and basically introduce it as like this is going to be our new look. This is our new look.
Yeah.
Not whatever the hell they released. And I'm disappointed that they're not going back to it. I think the heritage jerseys that they released are better than what they're wearing, 100%.
You talk about the Devils.
For Winnipeg. But I mean Devils, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, the thing that Devils fans like that, let's remember, a lot of us hockey fans and like players and everything, very superstitious. Whatever works, that's how we do it. The Devils, unfortunately, have not won a game since they brought this heritage uniform back.
But didn't they win a cup with those jerseys?
They did not win a cup with these. They made the playoffs several times with these. So if you go back to the first time, when the Devils made the playoffs, game-winning goal, John McClain, they were wearing these old uniforms. And when I saw them in an outdoor game, when I was there at Yankee Stadium, it was a sight to behold. And the Devils wearing these uniforms look great. And I understand that there's, people like the color black because it looks cool and all that. I get that. I get where it's coming from. And also, you don't want to go away from, uniforms that, won you Stanley Cups. But at the same time, at some point, you have to also think of it from a marketing standpoint and say, hey, you're trying to get new hockey fans? Well, if you can make jerseys that look like this, that kids say, hey, those look pretty cool, I'd like to have one, you're gonna really start to think, you know what? We may want to do this. I think that down the road, I'm not gonna say any time soon, but I think down the road, the Devils organization will probably look at that and say, that may be an idea of ours. And that's the way I think they're going to look at it, because bringing back the red, green, and white, and this is something that you and I have discussed numerous times, and we agree on 100%, bringing those back would be a smart decision because they would look great. They would.
100%. And it's just, maybe I'm just a stickler for old jerseys and like the old looks, but I gotta admit, like, the green is just so, like, it's just nicer than the black. I don't know.
Right. No, I mean, I know people that are big, they like the red and black, and because, again, like I said, they won Stanley Cups wearing those uniforms, and people think that a black and red jersey is going to look great. And I've seen people make designs of it, make ideas for it, and some of them look good, but I'm still worried because I sit there and say, hey, guys, how many times have we seen a team asked to get a certain jersey back? They finally do, and it comes out to be a huge disappointment. And not just hockey, but in other sports as well.
That was the biggest problem with Sens fans, was with the 2D logo. They were hoping that they would be butchered constantly, and when they were released, everyone was ecstatic of how nice they looked.
Right.
But we can talk jerseys this entire episode, but we do have other things to talk about. But before we move on, we're going to take a quick break because we spent the first half hour of this talking jerseys. But I don't think you guys should expect anything less than when Neil and I get together. So we'll be right back after this quick word from the New York Islanders. Surprise, surprise. So yeah, we'll be right back after this.
I heard this earlier. It's gonna be good.
I'll be right back.
Listen to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast, your one-stop shop for Islanders news, analysis, and opinions, featuring the biggest personalities in sports podcasting, TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
That's right, TJ. If you want your opinions viewed through orange and blue colored glasses from an Islander Bobo and charter member of the Louis Trust crowd, you'll love the measured commentary from TJ. On the other hand, if you want the unvarnished truth of a hockey purist, a genius, a legend, and an all-around great guy, the Grumpy Old Man's insane ramblings will be just what you need to survive each and every week.
An all-around great guy? Well, we also have weekly installments of Stump the Grump, an absolute fan favorite. Make sure to participate in our live streams and listen every Monday and Thursday to the bi-weekly podcast. You can find the Islanders Never Say Die podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network.
All right, there you have it. We are back, and that was a quick word from the Never Say Die New York Islanders podcast, part of the Hockey Podcast Network.
Well, I need to get the grumpy old man on the pod, man.
He is something else.
We've had like a couple town hall meetings, and he always has something to say that just makes everybody laugh. Like everybody there just starts bawling laughing.
He is something else. It's amazing. I think he's a great guy.
He is like I would call him basically like the grandfather of the network, because I think it's fair to say he might be the oldest person that works at the network.
Easily.
So he's great. He's great, and that podcast is great. And you guys should definitely go check it out, especially if you're an Islanders fan. Obviously, go check them out. They always have a fun time on there.
100%. And remember, guys, we are sponsored by Customized Sports, your one-stop shop for all your jersey kit needs. If you have a blank jersey, they are the place to go. They got NHL, NFL, NBA, MLB, whatever you're looking for, they got it. Check them out on eBay at Customized Sports. They have a website, customizedsports.com. You can find the links to all those in the description below once the video is posted onto YouTube, and you'll be able to find them on our Twitter and Instagram page at Sens_Hour. But on to the second half of our show, we have the offseason to talk about, because the Devils have made some interesting moves, to say the least. Yes. And then we also still have to do our Sens Hour over-under segment, which will be an interesting one because it is with the Devils.
Yeah, I've given this some thought because, again, we have so many new pieces this year. I have, and again, we haven't even started training camp and we're not hearing anything. Anybody's guess, especially if the season continues to get shorter and shorter, the chances of the Devils actually making the playoffs, in my opinion, gets higher and higher.
Oh, 100%. But we will talk. We'll let's go to the offseason first, and then we can lead off.
Absolutely.
I think what your biggest. You guys drafted Alexander Holtz, which I think everyone was ecstatic for.
He's a stud.
With
2 goals today, by the way, everybody. He had 2 goals today and an assist. So I want everyone to know that. Also, Igor Sharangovich is like the best player in the KHL this season. So watch out for him as well. And we drafted him with the 164th pick in the draft. So not every great player is the number 1 overall pick. So keep that in mind, Rangers fans. Keep that in mind.
So you picked Dawson Mercer, 18th overall. But and we can talk about we all know what to expect from those guys.
I know what you want to talk.
I need to know about Shakir Mukhamadullin.
I got you. Shakir Mukhamadullin.
Okay, so the K's silent?
It's silent. He's Russian. What do you want?
Mukhamadullin.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk about him for a little bit.
I love that,
because you guys drafted Nico Dawes, which I'm kind of surprised about in the 3rd round. But yeah, let's talk about Shakir
let me say real quick about that. You haven't watched the Devils drafts long enough to know this, and Devils fans know what I'm talking about. Every year we draft a goalie. It doesn't matter. We draft a goalie every year. We have, I think, like the 2nd most goalies in a system in the NHL. We have something like 10 at this point. That we just like we have guys that are playing in college hockey that I didn't even realize we had.
Yeah, you drafted Cole Brady last year in the 5th round.
Playing it with one of the most up and coming programs in college hockey at Arizona State.
You drafted Akira Schmid out of Sweden in 2018.
We have
Gillis-Sen out of
Gilgis-Sen. Gilgis-Sen is his name. Yep, he is from Switzerland. And fun fact about him, he has a good chance to make the Switzerland national team for the Olympics.
And then Mackenzie Blackwood. The last time you guys didn't draft a quarterback or a goalie was 2014.
24. Okay, so see, like this has been like even when I was in high school, this was a running joke that like every year we were just going to draft a goaltender. And it was just like, it was kind of the funny thing. I was like, oh, is this going to be the guy that replaces Marty down the road or not? Like, it's just, Oh, and by the way, your boy finally is no longer a Devil. Are you happy now? Are you happy now that it happened?
I mean, I kind of feel bad for him because he did a lot for New Jersey, and I was excited. I was hoping that he'd get a shot. But I like the Crawford signing. I think Crawford's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, once Corey Schneider was announced that he was going to get released, that was, bought out, excuse me, that was a tough day for me personally because I wanted them to give him another shot. I felt like the way how he ended last season, I felt like he earned another opportunity. But I think the Devils just understood that they really just wanted to go in another direction. And I think when they saw the amount of goalies that were going to be available in free agency, I think that, Tom Fitzgerald felt confident he could get one of those to come to New Jersey. And Corey Crawford was not really on my list. I didn't know what Chicago was going to do. I was kind of surprised when they let him go. And you could ask guys like Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, they were surprised as well that they let him go, especially because I think he played pretty well in the bubble, considering the circumstances that they were in. But getting him on a 2-year deal, it's good because, if it doesn't work out after this year, the Devils could just expose him in the Seattle draft that they really wanted to and just, give Seattle a goalie for, on a 1-year contract. But I think
to be fair, they're gonna expose him anyways. You're gonna between Crawford and Blackwood, who are you gonna expose?
Well, look, it's Crawford and most likely Subban are the two guys that I think will most likely be the guys that get exposed. But it all depends on how they perform this year, particularly Subban. He has to do better. That's just plain and simple. And I've defended PK Subban because I've told people this before. I've said it numerous times. It wasn't Subban per se. It wasn't necessarily that, his skills are declining. It's that the coaching that he got in New Jersey was just not the coaching that he needs. He's an offensive defenseman. You're asking him to play more defense than he normally does, and he's just not a tremendous defensive defenseman. He's an offensive scoring machine at defense. That's what he does. And when you're asking him to do things that he's not capable of or has not been accustomed to, you're going to get burned. And I think that this was a down year for him, and I think he will bounce back in many degrees. I'm not saying he's going to become a Norris Trophy defenseman again, but I think he will bounce back many ways. But going back to Corey Crawford, I like the signing. I think it's a solid one. And finally, I think Devils fans can feel a little bit relaxed that we have a solid veteran backup goaltender that can really take some time, away from, Mackenzie Blackwood and give him some time to rest. And I think that's really an important thing.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest interest is your Andre Johnson. I
think it's
addition.
I keep saying Andreas Johansson because that's my guess, but I could be wrong. I'll be correct. I'll definitely try to be correct on it. But what are your? I'll give my thoughts, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think it was a great for Joey Anderson. I think it was a steal. I think it was a great pickup.
Joey A. He's one of my boys. He's one of my it's one of my all-time favorite Devils just because, college kid, I'm always a big fan of college hockey players that come to the NHL. He always seemed to give himself opportunities to score and make plays. And I just think for him, it was just never a good fit with the way the organization was going. And the fact that the Devils got a player of, Johnson or Johansson's, skill set, for a guy like Joey Anderson, who's, maybe not as talented as Johnson, but, I could be wrong, I think was a steal. And that was just one of the things that the GM of the Devils, Tom Fitzgerald, made clear. He said, look, our goal is to have cap space for many different reasons, to be able to re-sign players, to be able to take advantage of other teams' salary cap situations, and, to go from there, and also to bring in free agent signings. I mean, the Devils still have about $15 million in cap space, and we still, and even after we re-sign, Jesper Bratt, Mackenzie Blackwood, who we have as RFAs, we're still going to have over $10 million on the cap for this year. So I don't think the work is necessarily done. It's going to depend on, when the season starts, what is it going to look like, how are we going to operate, and then just kind of going from there. But to get Johnson, I think that's a big thing. And I've heard Mango talk several times about since he came over to the Devils, and he's really excited because I think this gives him an opportunity to play in a more defined role in New Jersey with more opportunities to score than he had in Toronto.
Where do you think he lands up?
I think he lands in the top 6, in my opinion. I think what's going to end up happening is that he's going to develop good chemistry with Nikita Gusev, because I think Gusev is going to end up being that second-line winger that we need, because that's where he flourished last year. And Gusev has become much more of a playmaker than necessarily a goal scorer. He's tremendous when it comes to setting up other guys. Johnson is a very much a sniper, a guy who has a nose for the goal. And you have Jack Hughes, who also is a big-time scorer. If you have those two guys being matched up with your best playmaker, I think that could go a long way. So I think top 6, probably second line, in my opinion.
That's fair. I think that's probably – who would you have as your top – who would be your top line? Oh, Palmieri.
Our top line would be most likely Brat, Nico, and Kyle Palmieri.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that Palmieri is still there.
Because
where do you think Holtz? Like, do you think Holtz won't be over this season no matter what? Right? He's not allowed.
It's not allowed. It's just that the Devils don't want to do that right away.
Do you think he's in next season, like in a 21-22 season?
I think they're going to give him an invite to training camp. If we get a development camp, if everything kind of goes back to the way that we were before, I think that he will. And you look at the way he's been playing. I said it before a couple weeks ago. He has actually been playing better since he got drafted. Like, he was doing well, but ever since he got drafted, it seems like he's scoring 1 or 2 goals a game and setting up his teammates. He's doing really well over there at Djurgården. But yeah, I think Holtz is going to be our franchise goal scorer. We have 2 franchise centermen, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes. I don't think neither one of them are 30 goal scorers, in my opinion. Maybe Jack Hughes. He seems to want to shoot the puck. Nico seems to be a little bit more of a playmaker, a guy that can kind of do it all. I've said it before that Nico, if he's developed correctly, could become a Patrice Bergeron-like player. He could be very much like a Selke Trophy winner down the road. With Holtz, this is our, I guess I'll use, he's our Patrick Laine, so to speak, because we know Patrick Laine is a guy that loves to score goals, and that's his.
Do you think it's more fair to compare him to, like, if we're going to compare him to a Devil, watching Holtz?
Claude Lemieux.
Really?
My answer is Claude Lemieux, because Claude Lemieux.
I was going to say Elias.
No, that's also a good one. Probably the 3. If you wanted to give me 3, I would say Lemieux, Elias, and Alexander McGillney. Those guys, all 3 of those guys, were guys that wanted to put the puck in the back of the net as much as possible. And when they came to New Jersey, that's what they were asked to do. Claude Lemieux in 95, he almost single-handedly, was the catalyst for the offense of the Devils that, quite frankly, didn't score a lot, but that's because of the neutral trap zone that everybody, hates even to this day. But it doesn't matter because we won 3 cups doing it. Claude Lemieux, was a clutch player. Patrick Elias, clutch. McGillney, clutch. And I think if Holtz is developed correctly, he can be that same player. And we have to remember this. Holtz is playing in the league already with adults, so to speak, or professionals. Let's call it like it is. Professionals. And he's 6'4", and he's well over 200 pounds. This kid is built to play in the National Hockey League. He's not going to get intimidated by getting banged around by guys that are a little bit taller and maybe a little bit bigger than him. The thing that's going to be the interesting part, as Shane, I'm sure you would understand, is that the NHL rink is smaller than what you get in Europe. So 100%. It takes time to develop. We said it before. One of the problems for Gusev was that he was trying to learn how to play the NHL game with a smaller rink, not much, space to make plays that he can make. Once he figured it out and once he understood what he could take advantage of, he started to have success. So I'm not saying, Holtz is not going to come in and just light the world on fire. He might take some time to get used to that small rink and say, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I can't do. And I'll make adjustments. But Holtz is now that guy that's at the top, of our prospect list when it comes to forwards. Igor Sharangovich, like I mentioned before, I think is rising a lot because it seems like he's scoring 1 or 2 goals a game in the KHL. I mean, he's one of the top 5 best players when it comes to goal scoring in the KHL. He's 22 years of age. He's 22. and he's doing well, you know, with everything like that.
So you guys picked Mercer, and
Yeah.
you guys traded. You guys didn't trade for it. It was New
No.
Jersey. No, not Calgary was the one that traded and still got the guy they were looking for.
I forgot what they got.
Yeah. See, I like Mercer. He was one of those guys where I wanted Ottawa to trade up for. I like Ridley Craig. I like where we got him. I think he's going to be great. But looking at your center position, your top six is relatively solidified. I think it's fair to say that you're going to have Hughes and Hischier for the foreseeable future.
Correct.
If that's your 1, 2, 3 as a Hischier, Hughes, Mercer down the middle, Mercer to me reminds me a lot of Krejci.
I
And
can see that.
in terms of like he's strong, he's
style, right?
Yeah, like his overall play style, like he's going to be one of those guys. I think if Hughes isn't careful and Dawson continues to improve, Dawson could overlap Hughes.
I mean, look, here's the thing. I'm more concerned about, I don't want to be a top, I'm speaking as a fan. I'm not speaking as, somebody who works for the Devils or anything. My envision would be, I don't want the Devils to be a top 6 heavy team. I don't want it to be a team that has 2 top lines and then 2 bottom lines that are so-so. I would like this team to be 4 lines deep, like you saw with Tampa. A team that could put out several different lines and have success scoring, making plays, doing what it needs to do. And if we have 3 centermen, like you mentioned, Hischier, Hughes, Mercer, we're just creating that depth. And that's what the Devils did when it came to this draft. We wanted to add depth to our team. So we added a goaltender. We added a winger, a goal-scoring winger. We added a centerman. We added a young defenseman. We added to everything because we're trying to build a deep team that we could put in many different people and go from there. So I think that Mercer, look, me personally, if Mercer becomes better than Hughes, I'm not going to get mad about it because it is what it is. If Mercer's the guy that ends up being the reason we go on and win the Stanley Cup in the next 3 or 4 years, wonderful. Like that's, it doesn't matter to me. If Hughes gets dropped to the third line, but then, Hughes starts dominating on the third line, that's awesome. Like, great. I don't really care. Like, as long as everybody is building good chemistry and everything's clicking on the ice, that's what I care about. So, I don't care about saying like, oh, Hughes went from being a number 1 overall pick to being a third line centerman. It's like, so if he's still contributing to this team and doing what he needs to do, he's still worth it to me. That's just the way I look at it. And, and Mercer, we have to remember, the Devils didn't expect to draft Mercer. He wasn't, we were surprised that Mercer was there at 18. If you remember, we were on, we were talking with Andy. I think we were on the Broadway Boys live stream of the draft when we were watching it. And you could tell Andy was almost shocked that Mercer hadn't been drafted.
I was expecting Mercer to be picked in like the 11 to 15 range.
Right. And I don't know what it was. Maybe because of the lack of playing that Mercer was getting because of, COVID and everything. But the fact that the Devils, that was probably a situation for them where they were like, we could draft a defenseman here. I forgot what defenseman was there. I don't think it was
like Braden Schneider, Caden Gould, a bunch of them were
Schneider,
there.
Yeah, I think it was Schneider that I think if Mercer had gone before 18, I think Schneider would have been the pick at 18. But once the Devils saw that, they were like, okay, there's a chance that we're only going to get one of these 2 guys, Schneider or Mercer. And they just probably went with best player on the board at that point. And then they were like, okay, who's another defenseman that we really like? And Shakir Muhammad-Deline, who was projected, I think, to go in the 3rd round. We made the 20th overall selection in the draft.
Yeah, because Braden Schneider was picked at 19.
Well, because the Rangers traded up with Calgary to take him there, which was like,
Connor Zary was who Calgary got.
Right, Connor Zary. That was an interesting choice in my opinion. But
I'm kind of surprised that he dropped all the way to to 24.
I think Calgary knew that was the case, and I think that's why they traded back. I think they knew that they could get him later. But
Honestly, for me, William Wallander, I was kind of surprised when dropped out of the first round.
Yeah, I think he was the biggest surprise of after the first round was over. They were like, "Wow, he's still on the board."
And him and Petrarca.
Right. But going back to Mercer, yeah, I mean, he seems to be doing well with Rimouski, which is place where Sidney Crosby played his junior hockey. If he continues to progress the way he's progressing, there's another, we're adding depth. Like I said, we're adding really good, talented depth to this young team.
I think he's going to be he reminds me a lot of DeBrincat in terms of his situation. Everyone was like, oh, DeBrincat's producing because of McDavid. And I think there was a lot of question marks about Mercer.
You're talking about Alex DeBrincat, right? Okay.
Yeah, Alex DeBrincat. When he was drafted in the second round.
Right, and he played juniors with Connor McDavid, correct?
Yeah, he was on the same line with each other. It was the same thing with Strome and whatnot.
Right.
So with DeBrincat, it was okay, can he produce? And then he went back the year after he was drafted and produced without McDavid.
Right.
And I think with Mercer, he's kind of in that same boat because if I'm not mistaken, he played most of his season last year with Alexis Lafreniere in Rimouski.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are looking at his stats being like, okay, you played most of your junior year with the first overall pick. How much is that really how much is it that skill versus being able to play with a guy like that? And I think he's not playing for Rimouski this year. I don't think. Oh no, he is.
He is.
He did go back.
Pretty sure. I think this is the last year of his eligibility in juniors.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember because I know if you go back, he wouldn't be able to go to the NHL and whatnot. But he had 7 points in 5 games before because I know he got hurt. I remember that.
Yep.
I
think and I did know that the first 2 games back after after being away, when they finally came back, I think he had 2 goals and 3 assists right away. So he's clearly proving that he's capable of producing without tremendous talent around him.
I mean, I think we both messed up here. He didn't even play for Rimouski. He played for Drummondville, and then
doesn't he play for Rimouski?
No, he plays for Chicoutimi.
Oh, Chicoutimi. Jeez, I get those 2 confused. Right, Chicoutimi. Right.
Yeah, honestly, same. I don't pay attention.
Oh, remember, I
think it was who? There was a guy who played for outside of Lafreniere who got drafted. I'm pretty sure.
I don't. Your guess is mine.
He played for Chicoutimi, but still, he had last year. Of course, I just closed it. It was Hendrix Lapierre. That's who I was thinking about. Because they're both played for Chicoutimi,
right?
And Lapierre struggled. Okay. Because he had 17 points in 19 games last year.
Yep.
He's had 8 points in 5 games this year, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Mercer he was traded halfway through the year,
right
near the end of the year, and then he got hurt and whatnot. Right. But yeah, so we messed up there. Our bad, guys.
Not the first time. Not the first time.
It won't be the last.
Right, exactly. It will not be the last.
But, to be fair, I think New Jersey did well in this draft. I like Mercer. I like as a Sens fan, I understand about head scratching picks. We had them multiple years in a row, and now fans seem to love them. But with that, we're going to lead off to our final segment, and that is the Sens Hour over under. And this year or today, we're going to look at the New Jersey Devils total wins. And just to make sure that everyone knows and everyone's familiar, the total wins is half an overtime for an overtime loss overtime loss.
Okay.
It counts as half a win. So overtime shootout losses count as half a win.
Right.
Because you're getting half the points.
Right. And we're going off of what, 60 games?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing a 60 game over under.
That's all we got right now. We don't even know if it's going to be 60, but that's all we got right now.
So I think 82 is out of the question. Let's be honest. 82
right.
is out of the question.
Right.
Probably looking at closer to a 48 game schedule, kind of like a lockout
Okay.
shortened year.
Okay.
But I think 60 games right now is probably a good base.
Sure.
I have them winning 25 and a half games.
25.
Just under half. For me personally, I know it's low and I feel like you're going to go over. I'm going to take the over on it, but the reason why I have them at 25 and a half is just experience. They've added these pieces and, Palmieri, Gusev, Johnson and whatnot, Hughes is a year older, Blackwood's a year older, but mostly it's the fact that they're going to be stuck in a division with the Islanders, the Rangers, most likely Philadelphia, Pittsburgh,
and Boston.
Like, just looking at all those teams,
and we're going to be playing them. I mean, it's a regional thing, so we're going to be playing them all the time.
And those teams made the playoffs last year, and I don't see New Jersey if their majority of the games are against those 5-6 teams.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard for them to win games. So I think they're going to be at that bottom half of the league again, and I'm taking the over because I think purely on overtime, I think they're going to be able to win. They're going to lose games in overtime. They're going to get those pity points. I'm taking the over, but I'm only going a game and a half. I'm picking them at 27 total wins.
27. Okay, that's fair. No, that's fair because, first of all, the Devils are one of the 7 teams, including Ottawa as well, that, are going to get, 2 weeks, more of training camp than the rest of the teams. And, we still don't even know when that's going to happen. Like we just have very little information at the moment. Chemistry is going to be an important thing this year because we have a lot of new pieces and we have a new coaching staff, except obviously Elaine Nasruddin is returning, which is good. But you have a new head coach. You're going to be playing a new system. It's going to be interesting. No fans, most likely. Probably playing in the toughest division, regional division, if we're going to call it that. Probably, if that's projected, what it's going to be. Again, nothing is guaranteed. I thought about this for a while, and I'm going to go with 28 and a half. That was and I'm going to say that they're going to probably end up. This is the way I look at it. If it's a 60-game season, they're probably going to miss the playoffs by a few games. If it's a 40-game season or a 48-game season, I think that they would probably finish either a game or 2 out, or maybe even somehow sneak in as the last team. And the reason that I say that is because Buffalo, I don't personally think is better than the Devils. That's just, they did add Taylor Hall. They have Jack Eichel. I think they still have Skinner, if my memory is correct.
They locked up Skinner to like an 8-year deal or something like that. They added Stahl.
Their goaltending situation is
questionable at best.
And then you have this. How much better are the Rangers going to be this year? Don't know. Their defense is still a problem. That's something that you have to keep an eye on.
Their left side is. Their left side is definitely an issue. Their right side's pretty. Let's be honest. Their right side's pretty strong. But
their left side is a question mark. You have the Flyers, and that's going to be tough. You have the Capitals, not going to be easy at all. Pittsburgh, the Devils have had more success recently against Pittsburgh, so that kind of, that's a good thing. Boston, yeah, that's difficult. This is going to be a year, and I would say this to all Devils fans, this is going to be a year where we should just we should just enjoy the ride and just see where it goes. Because the expectation should be we're not a playoff team. We're a young team. Our general manager has been brutally honest with us about our expectations, where he thinks this team is right now. He said at the trade deadline, we're not a Stanley Cup contender. We're not even a playoff contender. He said
100%. You guys are like a rebuilding contender.
Right. If you asked him now, he'd probably say, we're a better team, but we still got to go out there and play. And I don't even think we're probably not there yet. So I think with that, that's, where I would go with it. But I think we're going to have some fun moments. I think we're going to have some games where it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these guys play. I think we're going to have some, growing pains. But I think that there's a lot of optimism and a lot of positivity because, we have a new regime, new GM, new coaching staff, a lot of new players. We've drafted very well. There's a chance that a handful of young kids are going to get an opportunity to play in the NHL right now, with some spots on defense and even on the bottom 6. We have some guys already playing overseas on loan and also just playing over there that are doing really well and progressing. So I think that this is going to be a year, another tough year, so to speak. But I think there's going to be a lot of positivity and there's going to be a lot of progression. And I think that's the number one thing to look at.
100%. I think that's, if you're a team like New Jersey, I mean, you're in the same boat as Ottawa, that's kind of what you're looking for. You just want the progression.
Yeah.
There's no quick fixes in this kind of situation, so you shouldn't expect them.
Especially in hockey, you can't, it's not like in the NBA where you can just get like 3 superstars and boom, you're all of a sudden you're a, a contender for a title.
You're not the Lakers or the Heat with LeBron.
Or the Nets if they get James Harden, which
not happening.
Oh God.
Unless they trade
I'm
Kyrie.
A Nets fan, in case anybody wants to know, I'm a Nets fan, and I'm counting down the days till we make that move because I think it's going to happen one way or another. Whether it
It'll probably be for Kyrie. Like, I don't see those 3 being on the Nets together.
I never wanted Kyrie in the first place. I just wanted KD, and that's it. I would have taken giving D'Angelo Russell the max and have him play with KD because that would have been fine. But anyway, you can't build a team, a championship team like you do in the NBA or even to a lesser extent the NFL. In the NHL, it's got to be everybody. It's got to be all 25 plus guys with chemistry and, playing together. And I've said this before on the broadcast that I do for the, team that I cover, the Jersey Shore Whalers. I say hockey is a magical, unpredictable sport. You have no idea what's going to happen every time you go to a game. I know you could say that also about every other sport, but there's a lot of things that are predictable in other sports that it's going to happen. In hockey, anything that you think is going to happen might not happen. You might think, we're going to see a goal tonight. Well, you might not see one until a shootout. It might go the full 60 and everything like that with no goals. Or you might get a game where it's 7-6. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. And it's not always that the most talented team wins it all. Remember, Tampa Bay won the cup this year, but not before they had several years of losing to teams that they were far and away better than. Columbus. You had,
I mean, to be fair, they also went to the cup final and lost to, they also know what's like losing. Yeah, they lost in 2015 to Chicago. So, and it was their core guys, to be fair. Like, it was Hedman and Kucherov and Stamkos. I know Stamkos only played 1 game, but he was still there.
And Vasilevsky, if you want to throw him in there as well, because he was.
If you want to be technical, yeah.
Right, but but that's it. Experience works well. Chemistry is very important, and also there's nothing wrong with a little bit of luck. Sometimes you really need luck in this game, and that's the way you got to look.
Look at Dallas. Look at Dallas. They got lucky, got hot at the right time.
That's what it takes. If you get hot at the right time, and you got, as somebody in my family would call it, you have
a horseshoe up your ass,
or you got the juju going, as my family would say. There isn't much you can really do to kind of slow it down.
I like with the horseshoe in the ass. And I've
never heard that one, but that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, no. But yeah, no, honestly, I'm excited to watch New Jersey this year. I'm going to be disappointed that I won't be able to go watch them live. It's always the one game I try to go to at least once, one of their visits. I try going to their first visit every year. If you guys didn't know, I was a huge Marty Brodeur, Scott Niedermayer, Scott Stevens. I was a huge fan of those guys.
Yeah.
Didn't really care much for the team itself. But those players, they were one of the reasons. Brodeur was the reason why I became I wanted to be a goalie. There's no lying to that.
Yeah.
We're not going to lie about that.
Same here.
I love Niedermayer. I love Stevens, Elias. Even Gionta and Gomez. The way they played the games during those. So I always try to keep an eye on New Jersey, which is why when they needed a host, I was like, sure, I'll jump onto it.
Right.
But I'm excited to see with this team. I like Blackwood. I hope New Jersey, Tom Fitzgerald, can kind of get things going for the Devils again and kind of make that Ottawa New Jersey rivalry a little bit more lively.
Yeah, got to go flashback to the 03 Eastern Conference Finals, which I've argued with people is one of the best conference finals in NHL history because
easily
the way those games went. I remember. Well, obviously I was a kid. I was about 6 years old, but I remember the Devils lost Game 6 at home, and it was just like this. We have to go back to Ottawa, and and Ottawa's when Ottawa's really good and they're in like the playoffs, it's a really hard place to play because those fans, like, I hate crapping on the arena because it's like in the middle of nowhere and parking is a piece of crap. They will go out there and they will go to the game all like 100%. But I was like, yeah, this is not looking good. And
here's the thing. I as much as I love Liam, because I do, he was one of my favorites.
Liam is like one of my all-time favorite.
But he was never that good of a goalie outside of Ottawa. Like if you just look at his numbers, he left Ottawa and then he tanked after the lockout. Like he lost it all. I think if you were to give me Hasek during the 03 run instead of an 06, I think we beat New Jersey. Like you give me if you give me Shigear, the guy who won the only player, if I remember correctly, he's the only player to win the Conn Smythe on the losing team.
That was crap. That was. We are not going to give Marty his due because even though he got 3 shutouts in the finals.
To be fair, Jaguar's the only reason why Anaheim made it to the finals.
To be fair, Martin Brodeur had 3 shutouts in the Stanley Cup Finals, and one of them being Game 7. So I don't really.
I agree, but Jaguar was deserving of it because he was the only reason why that Ducks team.
And this is the thing: people are like, "This is the reason why people don't think Marty's the best." Oh, he never won a Conn Smythe. That's because he got.
I don't care about that. Conn Smythe means shit. Hasek, I don't think Hasek ever won a Conn Smythe.
I've said all the time. Look, 95, Claude Lemieux, hands down. He was the best player on the team. He deserved it. 2000, Scott Stevens basically murdered everybody. That it's fine. 2003, that was Marty. That was at his prime. And you have Jaguar, who played great, right? Played phenomenal. He was like arguably the biggest reason that Anaheim got to the Cup final. And got to Game 7 as well. But
100%.
But let's.
Here's the thing: you're telling me. To be fair, when you lose 3 games in a shootout, you're not the fault that they lost those 3 games.
Right. But
it's like Leonard, right? It's like Leonard, where they lost to Vegas, or they kept losing to Vancouver and Dallas. They just couldn't score.
Right.
It's not because Leonard was having a bad game.
Right. And he never had a bad game this season in the playoffs. It was just that his team, for some stupid reason, could not score. And again, that's where it comes from. You have a great, talented team, but if not everybody's clicking, your chemistry's not good, you're not gonna have success. You're gonna struggle. And that's what they did against Dallas. They really struggled.
Here's the thing. I know Patrick Waugh has 3.
Whoop.
I don't think he really deserved it. I think maybe 93 he did. If you look, I just think that
96 he deserved it, in my opinion. 96
that's fair.
He deserved it.
I don't know. I look at Patrick Waugh and I just feel like it's his name that really gets. I was never a fan of Patrick Waugh.
Well, I was
never huge.
And here's where the conspiracy theory of me comes out, because I tell people, people hate this when I bring this up, but it's so true. With Patrick Waugh, he was French-Canadian, and he played for the Canadians. So right away, he's the golden child.
That's 100% agreed.
Put him on a pedestal. He won a Stanley Cup when he was 18 years old, or whatever the hell it was. I don't remember how. He was young, and he became this great goaltender. We also have to remember the defense of the Canadians, through majority of the time that Patrick Waugh was there, was not that good. So he had to be great in order for them to win things. So obviously he wins Stanley Cups there. Then he goes to Colorado, and it's originally was the Nordiques, and he wins Stanley Cups there. And all of a sudden he's being challenged by another French-Canadian goaltender in Martin Brodeur. But here's the problem. Martin Brodeur plays for, at the time, one of the smallest markets in the National Hockey League in New Jersey. And as we all know, and Shane, you're not from this area, so I don't know if you understand this enough, but if you don't, I'll explain. New Jersey is considered to be, as the joke goes, the armpit of America. It's
100%. I've
constantly
heard that.
crapped on. It's constantly criticized. We had a stupid reality TV show that MTV thought was a great idea that pretty much put Jersey in a very bad light. And so people didn't like it. They didn't like that the Devils played in New Jersey in the Meadowlands, and they were playing this neutral zone trap that was winning them all these games, even though it was considered boring hockey. And that's why people wanted to give Marty crap. So they never wanted to give him the recognition that he deserved. And people don't want to admit that Marty was overall a better goaltender, in my opinion, than Patrick Waugh. I've said this before. Martin Brodeur will always be, in my opinion, until proven otherwise, the greatest goaltender to ever play the position. Because every record except Conn Smythe, which, like you said, is meaningless, and Stanley Cups, which could have been flipped the other way had the Devils won Game 7 in Colorado in 2001, which would have changed everything. Stanley Cups. But every record that Waugh ever set for goalies, not only did Marty break it, he shattered it.
Here's the thing with goaltenders. I think if Dominik Hasek is from Canada, he could be the best goaltender in the NHL in the history.
I think
because he didn't get, but he never got his chance until he was like 28.
That's true.
You're talking about a goaltender like Patrick Waugh and Marty Brodeur, who came in at like 22,
right?
Like 19, 20, 21, 22 kind of thing.
Right.
Dominik Hasek didn't really get his fair shot at a starting position until he was like 28.
So he went to Buffalo. Right.
Yeah, and I mean, it's no real fault to his own, but I think if he's North American, either American or Canadian, he really gets a shot when he's like 25, 24, or younger. And I think the record book would have looked a little bit different.
Yeah, and I think there was a stereotype to that. I think, I think back then there was a lot of stereotypes with European goalies that, I think
the scouting just wasn't there.
That's true too.
I think like the fact that the ice surface was different, because there wasn't a lot of European goaltenders during that time in that kind of spotlight.
But he was from the Czech Republic, so again, that was that stereotype of like there aren't that many great Czech Republic players that have come to the NHL. So why is this guy any different, so to speak? And
like if he's maybe from Russia, I wouldn't even say from Sweden, because at the time, like when he came into the league, it wasn't that popular.
Remember, that was back when they were all talking about, the Swedes are a bunch of softies. That was that era of
I think like Hasek did a lot for the league, and if he started earlier, if he was a true starter earlier in his career, records look a lot different for Brodeur and for Waugh.
I think if Dominik Hasek got a better opportunity, he probably would have ended up having the records that Marty has, and probably would have ended up becoming the greatest of all time. The only thing that I always tell people that, and again, I'm biased because, like I said, I'm a Devils fan, and it's understandable, but the NHL had to change several rules because of the way Marty played the game. Marty would play the puck like he was another defenseman out there, and he scored several goals himself. But he would set up guys all the time, and that infuriated other teams because it was just like, there's no way you can game plan for that. You can't game plan for that. And also Marty just played his own style, stacking the pads, doing the scorpion look, and somehow
really introduced the NHL to a hybrid style goaltending.
Exactly. He really introduced that because, he came from the era where the stand-up was still, kind of big, but then also you had some goalies that were starting to go to the butterfly.
Patrick Waugh.
He decided, I got to do a hybrid of both because both systems work when it comes to making a save.
Yeah, because you look at Patrick Waugh and Hasek, where we're more butterfly goaltenders.
Exactly.
And then you have guys like Belfour, who was I found more of a stand-up, or Curtis Joseph, who was more of a stand-up.
Curtis Joseph, right, exactly. That was that, Marty kind of changed it. And now you look at, I would say almost every goalie in the NHL does hybrid, in my opinion.
Oh, easily. It's the most common one. Like, unless you're like 6'7", Like Bishop's a stand-up goaltender because he's 6'7".
Yeah, he's 6'7", and he doesn't have to get down if he doesn't want to.
Like, but I mean, if you watch hockey games during that time period, they're shooting low constantly because, well, they were standing up. There was no way to, and I think that's what really threw people off with Roberts because people were shooting low and he was going down to make those stops. So they would have to raise the puck, and if you couldn't raise the puck, you weren't going to score much on him.
Right. He, as he got older, his glove side became more of a weakness. But when you really look at, the way he played, he infuriated people because you never knew how he was going to stop you. It was never, one of the things they used to say about Mario Lemieux back in the day was that Mario Lemieux had maybe 15, 20 different ways he was going to shoot the puck at you, and you didn't know which one he was going to use on you. That was the same thing with Marty. When you came down on a breakaway, you didn't know if he was going to come flying at you and try to do a flying poke check, stack the pads, just completely rob you on the glove side, go butterfly and just beat, prevent you from going 5-hole. You didn't know. So he basically forced shooters to make that decision well before they wanted to. And that was, one of the things that was very frustrating. And Marty just, all he wanted to do was just play the game that, he looked at it and said, what can I do to give my team the best chance to win this game? By making saves like that. And even at age 40, he was still making those saves because it's not like he's going to change. And people say, why isn't Marty a head coach, a coach, like a goalie coach? Because you can't teach what he did. You can't teach that. That was his style.
You kind of just know it.
You kind of just know it. People are gifted in those ways. People are gifted cooks. People are gifted teachers. You just don't know. It's not, not every great player becomes a great coach. I've seen that numerous times. So at the end of the day, I will stick by what I believe in. And I believe that Marty's the greatest goaltender of all time. I put Dominic Hasek at number 2. And then I put Waugh at 3 because I also say, look at the teams he played for. He played for Montreal, which was one of the dynasty, let's call it like it is. And then he played for Colorado, who had, Peter Forsberg, Joe Sakic,
Rob Blake,
Raymond Bourque, and all that. And look, I have conspiracy theories about the 01 finals, and we're not going to get into that. But.
Well, you know what? Well, we can get into it later this week because I will be joining you on your Thursday episode. Yeah. So we can get right back into it then.
Yep.
But, we are the Sens Hour, and we have gone over that hour. So thank you all for who stayed listening to this.
This is going to be like the Sens Hour in 23 minutes.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, cool.
But for this episode with Neil Villapiano, it's been a pleasure as always for Neil to be on. We will have our regular co-host and Derek back for.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to actually meet Derek for the first time because obviously I've talked to him on social media, but I was actually kind of looking forward to meeting him and
Yeah, he's probably getting off in about half hour because he's at work right now.
Good for him.
But I hope you guys all enjoy this episode of the Sens Hour podcast. With Neil and I, it's always just a ramble. If we ever do decide to make our have a co-hosting podcast, you guys are going to we're going to have to release it in parts because they're going to be like 4 hours long.
Right. And we'll make Bayou edit them for us.
Oh, 100%.
We'll make Bayou the editor, so he has to sit there and do it for us. Where can people find you, Neil? And I know you just released another book, so you got to tell us about that. Your famous book, Send Off. Yeah. All right. So, as Bayou calls it, it's like my half-hour outro that everybody calls it. But you can follow me on Twitter, on my personal Twitter at THENVPSHOW. And on my personal Instagram, NVPQB11. You can follow the Devil's State of Mind. Twitter at Devil State and Instagram at Devil's State of Mind, as well as our Facebook page as well, where you just continue to stay up to date and interact with me, talking about the Devils. I have a podcast that I do, sports related, Mofobo Network podcast, new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday on Anchor and Spotify. Got a really, really good week coming up with a couple good guests, so it should be fun. You have a YouTube.
Still haven't been invited on yet.
All right. Well, you know what? You know what? Thursday, because I do. we'll set it up. But I also have Mofobo Network Presents, my YouTube channel that I post a new video every single Wednesday. Mofobo Network or my name, and you'll find it. And yeah, also I wrote a book that I published back in January called JETS Pain, 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 which is about the pain and suffering of being a New York Jets fan. The Jets, especially today, because we're recording this on a Sunday, continue to live up to their form by having a nice, embarrassing loss at home to the Dolphins. So, but yeah, you can check that book out on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The price is $19.69. So if you're a Jets fan or football fan, you probably guessed why I chose that price. And also, I just published a new book this past week, Meet the Mets Mess, the REGRETS of New York Town, which is basically about the regrets of being a New York Mets fan. Also, that book is also $19.69 as well. You can get it for hardcover and ebook on Amazon. It'll eventually be on Barnes & Noble. It talks about, the pain and regret of being a Mets fan. So it's another one, and I'm already planning on writing a third book. So go check those out and continue to support me. And again, Shane, thank you so much for having me on. It's always a blast talking with you, man.
Oh, 100%. It's always been fun. I like how most of the people on the network think we hate each other. It's great.
Oh, we gotta keep that up though, because I don't think people need to know that,
Yeah, that's true.
Especially because I'm still waiting on Ish to let us know that we could do another podcast together. I think
that's for sure.
I think the world needs that. I think
100%. They need a fresh Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith.
We gotta wear suits though. We gotta.
Oh, 100%. We just gotta do the full suits and just sit here like all professional like.
I'm telling you, when this COVID thing is over, I'll come to you or you come to me and we could do live things in person and we could totally just go completely
Shane's trip to New Jersey. How bad does it go?
Yeah, I've never been to Canada, so it would just be, Neil.
You would never want to go back, guarantee it.
The thing is, I would be calling it kneeling across the border. So that's gonna be fun. But again, Shane, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. And guys, you can find us Sens_Hour, Twitter, Instagram, as well. You can find me Shane_Ryan97. Remember to follow Derek at DLee075 and give the podcast network a follow, HockeyPodNet on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. New episodes are Monday and Thursday. And if you are listening to this, our winners for our customized sports contest jersey kits will be announced Monday at 10 a.m. They'll be on our Twitter, so definitely head on over there to check to see if you won. If you haven't been heard from us, though, you probably didn't win. Sorry about that.
I entered too, so if it happens to me, let's go, baby.
Maybe.
I'm gonna hear from you anyway, saying no, you didn't win. You just
probably. This is a straight. Just be like, congratulations,
you didn't win. Right, that's how it's gonna go. So I'm prepared. I'm prepared for pain. Don't worry.
I mean, you're a Giants fan. You're used to it.
All right, you know what? We're in first place in the NFC East right now.
The NFC least?
Okay, yeah, so it is. I don't care. You know what? Here's the thing. 2020 has been such a bad year. At least one of my teams is in position to make the playoffs. You know what? So I don't need, Oh, and by the way, how's James Conner, dealing with
our running game shit, so I don't care. We're still undefeated.
All right, well, we'll see you. We'll see you at the Super Bowl in a couple months, so don't worry.
Okay. I mean, I'd be okay with that. See, Juan and Tuit and co. just smack around. What's his face? Jones?
Oh, there's so much pain with that, and we don't even know what his situation is tomorrow. I'm waiting.
Oh yeah, he got hurt. Oh yeah, he got hurt. I forgot about that.
Yeah. We got Colt McCoy, so we're screwed.
Yeah, that's true. Guess we'll find out later this week. I got my Steelers Ravens on Tuesday, baby. Can't wait. But again, guys, thank you for listening to this rambling. We'll catch you back here with a brand new episode on Thursday. You can find us again Spotify, Anchor, anywhere you really find your podcasts. You can find us on Pinecast. Pinecast.com, where you can get basically everywhere, all of it at once. Super simple. It's linked on our Twitter and whatnot. But thank you guys for joining, and we will catch you here Thursday with a brand new episode.